Well, hello again, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Davis. I'm host of Radio Entrepreneurs. Also, thank you to our other sponsors, the Family Business Association and Mage, my consulting firm that I've been at since 1985. I always get kind of ramped up for this interview because we have Phil Sharkey, president of the Higher Authority. This is the Sharkey report, and welcome back, Sheriff Sharkey.
Thank you, Jeff. It's always a pleasure to be here. And today, I know we didn't even pre-discuss this, but I was just going to take you through today on what a background check consists of. Because, Jeff, I have so many questions to your listeners, and people just assume one thing is a background check. And this goes for both the people who would use our services as a company, but also people that may have a background check conducted on them. Every time I speak with someone, they all go like, they think they know what a background check consists of, but they don't. They're not even close. So I'd like to take you through that process.
Let's do it. Tell us.
Excellent. Well, Jeff, the first thing is that, as you always know in the past, we always need a signed release and authorization. So there's nothing underhanded, like in people's minds. There's nothing in my private eye work, like hiding in bushes and filming. Everything's above board. I can't do anything without their signed release and consent. It has to be sent to me. I have to have it in hand. I have to have it here, and then I can begin the background check. So nothing is done without the person's knowledge. So that's the first.
I thought I saw you hiding behind the bushes while my dog was going out this morning.
There's some work I still do on the side that you can text me privately if you need something investigated. That's not a problem. But for background screening and background checks, you need the signed release. And what the background consists of, some people think it's just a criminal record. That's just one component of a background check. The very first thing, Jeff, that everyone needs to understand is a verification of the social. So the social security number is verified as being active, not to say the improper wording, but there's a lot of people in the country, what's the right term, undocumented citizens, undocumented individuals. Bottom line is they can't work. You can't work if you don't have a valid social. I just had a call yesterday from an applicant who sort of argued with me, said he does not need a social, but I believe to be a citizen. I'm not sure about that exactly, but I know to be employed, you sure need a social. I know you have a social and you probably get taxes taken out of your social, Social Security Administration. So we need a valid social. Many of the people we screen do not have one. And that's the first blockade for our clients. They can't bring them on board. It's just a problem. And the other thing I get as an investigator from this search is address history. And that's so key, Jeff, because most times criminal record history is where someone has been, not where they are. And criminals are very savvy at hiding that from you, whether they hide employment, hide address history. I don't want them to share. I had one client say, well, I'll just ask them where they've lived. They're not, you obviously understand, they're not going to tell you that, yeah, Jeff, I want to work for Radio Entrepreneurs, and I used to live in Rhode Island, where there's a ton of criminal records. They're going to hide that from you. And this search gives it all to me. It's outstanding. And it's the first step in doing a background check. The next step we do is educational verification, which some people go, okay, whether it's pertinent to the position or not, that's not what I'm looking for as an investigator. I'm looking for honesty and integrity. And that's where we find about 30 to 40% of the people that we screen, to the tune of 600 to 1,000 people a month, will falsify. And boy, do they falsify, Jeff. They will lie like insanely. They don't just swing for a single. They swing for the fences, as we talk about our Red Sox in our past discussions. Fake degrees, computer simulated degrees with a school stamp. And what it shows me, and I tell the clients, is not just did they lie about their education, but look at the lengths someone will go to fabricate that lie. That has a lot of wheels turning. We see in our world today with a lot of political debates and lies on both sides of the parties. It's amazing how far people will go. And that's a scary thing for me. So that is a big search for us. Employment verification, really big, Jeff. That's where my company separates ourselves from these large, gigantic database screening companies. Our senior investigators extract information. So if we call Radio Entrepreneurs, I'm talking to you about your producer. Clients always tell me, well, the people don't talk. We have a policy. I just had a client the other day, a new client. We have a policy. We don't give references. And I'll tell them, well, that's funny because I just got a reference from your company. So if I get Jeff Davis on the phone and say, hey, Jeff, I'm going over Chris's application, he put you down as a reference. Even if you have a policy not to talk, right away your tone goes either, yeah, I know Chris, or will Chris put me down? There's a difference there. And then a seasoned professional like myself or my team can extract the proper information as to what did the person do for you, how long did they work there, why did they leave, would you rehire them, and the big one, were there any issues, any disciplinary actions? No open-ended questions, direct questions, and people will answer them, even if they're trained not to. And they'll tell me that, no, they weren't laid off. That's wrong. I take offense at that. They walked out on a job on a Friday. This is really valuable information because we say in my business, Jeff, that a leopard doesn't change their spots. Anything can happen to any person, normal issues. But when you see a repetitive history, that's really key for us. So that really separates us.
You say so much, and I will say as a management consultant, and for me, it's all about people in organizations. It's always about people and culture and strategy. But what I find is once a person tells a lie once, they tell a lie all the time. It's sort of like Star Wars with Darth Vader. Once you cross over to the dark side, you then start justifying your explanations and your ways of explaining the world, that it's logical in your own mind, and you just continue to do that. And if you're going to hire someone in part and add to your culture of a firm with someone who tends to move over to the gray area or the black area, it's important to know that because they have influence over other people. They will continue to misinterpret things, define things to other people that they work with. And I think with you, you're not just stopping the hiring of one potentially bad egg, you're potentially stopping the hiring of a bad egg that will rot the whole organization. And I think that's critical for you.
You're so right. It's the culture. And again, I'm not looking for perfection, and people sort of mistake that. No, everyone has issues and all. But as you said, it's that repetitive lie, and it's the lengths they'll go to continue the lie and set that culture up. And especially in management, when the other employees realize it right away that the person's not being honest and does not have the integrity, not perfection. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that are way to the right of that and have convinced themselves. I've even had some people for education, I know they would pass a lie detector test. They are lock, stock, sure they have that degree. And I will tell them, well, I just spoke to Northeastern and I have your transcripts. You don't have that degree. And they're like, no, they're wrong. I spoke to my professor. I did this. I had a parking ticket, and that's why they're holding it up. And what I tell people is, just like in the medical situation in the world today, you need to be your advocate. I'm not here to harm you. I am just a fact finder. And I'm telling you that this is what your school that you've paid $20, $30, $40, $70,000 a year for is saying about you. So you need to correct it, because every time I check, that's what they're going to say. And every time that's come back to me and they've either not apologized but said, that's right, I did not have 3 credits in my certain curriculum. And I'll tell them, then you need to stop saying you have a degree. Now you're not just exaggerating, you're falsifying a job application. Now I think you're dishonest. You're shaking my hand, we're meeting each other, and you're lying to me.
It's funny, just last month I saw a letter from a human resource officer to my son, who said to him that he should take things off of his resume. And I thought, what an incompetent. Here he is being honest and forthcoming about all of his experience, and they're telling him to take it off his resume. And my answer back to him was, they don't know what they're talking about.
It's so true. And I tell people 2 different thoughts here. Resume is where you do brag about yourself, where you do have the right to say, this is me, look how good I am, while being honest. The job application that you sign off on, that's where you better be honest. I've had many people on a resume sort of stretched as far as they can. And on an application, I'll say, if you have a degree, then don't check out that box that you do if you don't. That's where you get in trouble.
As I started this interview, I look forward every week to my interviews with Phil Sharkey, and we like to call him Sheriff Sharkey in Radio Entrepreneurs. Phil, you've convinced me more than ever that background checks are really important. I'm still blown away by your first comment that someone argued with you about not having a social security number. It's like, see you later, buddy. You're not on this train.
He was actually going into a defense contractor site. He already worked for our client, and he was saying, I can go in on a visitor's badge. And I wasn't going to argue with him on the particulars. I was not aware. But when he got into that stance, because he didn't want to give me his social, which I understand in today's the identity theft world, we have everything in place for the security of the person's information, but I can't do a criminal record check. I can't do a social security number check. I can't check you in the social security or the sex offender websites without your social. It's sort of like getting on an airplane today. You don't have to work for the company or work at the defense site, but I need that for you to clear you to get you into that site.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. And before the smoke, there's Phil Sharkey. How do we find you, Phil?
I'm right here our offices are in Southeastern Massachusetts at 508-230-5901, on the web at hireauth.com. That's HIREAUTH.com, or P Sharkey, my name, at hireauth.com. And Jeff, to wrap with our famous person of the day very quickly, this name for you is Kenneth Lanchar, Veritas Software. And I'll say this quickly, he's the Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. That part's important. He claimed to have an accounting degree from Arizona State University, being the Chief Financial Officer, and an MBA from Stanford. Had neither. He has an undergraduate degree from Idaho State University. So he's the CFO, does not have the accounting degree or the MBA that he claimed. So people, famous people and bigwigs falsify as well.
Oh, Phil, it never stops. And people who want to get a job will say just about anything. That I've seen. Great talking to you. Remind everybody this is Radio Entrepreneurs.